I'll never forget the day I found out my boss had been living rent-free in our company's expense reports. As an administrative assistant, I'm used to crunching numbers and keeping track of our team's finances, but even I couldn't have anticipated the extent of his reckless spending. It started with small things, unnecessary lunches and business trips that turned out to be just a solo vacation at the beach. But as time went on, the discrepancies grew larger and more frequent. I began to notice that our team's bonuses were consistently lower than expected, while my boss's own salary seemed to be, well, let's just say it was getting a nice boost. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe there was a legitimate explanation for the discrepancy. But when I stumbled upon a mysterious $50,000 loan on my personal credit line without my knowledge or consent, that's when things started to get ugly. My heart sank as I realized my boss had been using our company's budget like his own personal ATM. The worst part, he hadn't even bothered to come clean about it. It was as if he thought he was above the law, or at least, above accountability. But I knew better. I'd seen the numbers, and I knew exactly what he'd done. As I sat at my desk, staring at the screen in front of me, I felt a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, and a healthy dose of vindication. This was more than just a case of embezzlement. It was a clear-cut abuse of power. I couldn't help but wonder how many other employees were unaware of their boss's antics. Were they just as blind to the truth? And what about our company's financial health? Would we be able to recover from this financial blowout? I spent hours poring over our team's budget, searching for any sign of wrongdoing. And then, I found it. A cleverly worded clause in our employee handbook that gave my boss carte blanche to take out loans on his own credit line without approval. It was like he'd been playing us all along. But here's the kicker: I discovered that my boss had actually used this loophole to justify taking out the $50,000 loan on my personal credit line. He'd claimed it was an emergency, and that I was a responsible borrower who could handle the additional debt. The audacity! I couldn't help but laugh at his hubris. Had he really thought he'd gotten away with this? And what about the other employees who might be affected by his actions? As I reflect on the situation, I'm left wondering, did they deserve it?